Hi guys, here's another quick page in my pocket page notebook. I have got 3 photos of Lily and the story for this page is these are photos after we had got home from running errands one morning and I had to give Lily a face wash because we had stopped at McDonald's for breakfast and my husband had grabbed some hotcakes. And we had one more errand to do, so we left Lily in the car with the leftover McDonald's wrappers, and she decided to dig her way into the bag and eat all of the leftover hotcake syrup. So her face was entirely covered in syrup. As soon as we got back to the car and opened the door, I could smell it. It was all over her. Her face was so sticky. And I washed it 3 times and I could still smell it. She ended up having to go to a professional groomer's to get the smell out. So I've trimmed down my photos and I'm going to do a little bit of repeat stamping, but on this right hand side of the page I wanted to use this really pretty journaling card and the saying on it says something like, "You can't make this stuff up," which seemed totally appropriate. As soon as I saw that card I knew this was the story I would use it for. I just want to make a little hidden pocket for that journaling. So I picked out one of the really pretty papers in the 6x8 pad and I just trimmed it so it was just slightly larger than the journal card, just using the journal card as a rough guide. And then I'm applying some double-sided tape around 3 edges of that piece of paper. And when I stick that onto my page, that will make a little pocket for this journal card to go into, and I can fill in my journaling on there later on. So it ends up, the pocket becomes like a photo mat for my larger photo. And then I'm going to add 2 other ones just because I had them there after I washed her face. I had taken a whole pile of photos, so I decided instead of printing 1 I would do more than 1. Now for my repeat stamping I couldn't decide what colour ink to do the stamping in, so I grabbed a few different ones that I thought might match this paper and I'm just sort of swatching them on a scrap paper, and you can see here the sort of variety of colours I've got. The bottom 2 are too dark. And at this point I think I'm going to use the purple, but you'll see I end up changing my mind later on and I'll show you why. Now I'm going to do a little bit of cheat stamping today. There are all of these really cute sayings that were again perfect for this story on the Traveler's Notebook stamp set this month from Citrus Twist. So I picked out a few of the sentiments and I'm just using my little square stamp block here to lay them out. Now I've sped this up considerably because it does take a little bit of time, but any time that you take doing this you will save on your actual stamping process, I promise. So take the time, lay out the stamps on your stamp block. I've got another tutorial video about how I do this, so I'll link that up the top here for you. I'd almost managed to fill up my whole block with that one stamp set, but I did need to add this, this little partial stamp. I did cut the stamp to fit it onto the block, and I think that stamp set's from the scrapbook kit. Now here's where I start testing my stamps for real, and I tried the purple that I had decided to use and I felt like it was too light, so then I go ahead and I'm basically stamping every other colour, which it turns out is not a bad thing. I quite like the pink, even though it's not that much darker than the lilac that I had first picked. The other 2 are still too dark, so I was deciding between the lilac and the pink, and I think in the end I chose the pink just because it was slightly darker than the lilac, and it just gave a nice contrast to the darkness of that paper. Now here's where you save time with the repeat stamping. I'm just going to stamp up the page here, and every time I stamp I'm turning my block 90 degrees. Now you don't have to do that, but for me it just adds a little bit more variation to the stamping, and it gives it more of an almost random look. So you end up with this whole page filled with stamping, and what have I done here? Literally like 15 stamp impressions. Instead of doing all of those little stamps individually, you can stamp that whole page of stamping in less than a minute. Now I've put that down and added my photo on top, and it just gets lost, so I'm going to mat both of these little photos with that same paper just to tie in those colours a little bit more and make the photos stand out a little bit more on the page too. And I'm not being particularly precise with that. I'm just eyeballing it and then trimming it with my scissors rather than my paper trimmer. And at this point, I'm feeling like the layout is just a little bit plain. Like I'm gonna do my journaling, but the page needs just a little bit more embellishment. I go to put it away and I decide, no, I'm gonna add a little bit more. So I grab out these enamel dots from the scrapbook kit as well, and I'm gonna add a little cluster of 3 enamel dots with each photo. And the colors, I think these enamel dots are from Pink Fresh, but they go perfectly with that paper. So I'm picking out 3 of the colors. I've got the darker blue, a teal, and the pink. And 3 different sizes. So this one I decided to peel up and add the larger teal dot there. And then I'm going to use that main stamp again and stamp it in that darker blue ink to create a more sort of focal point title, I guess, rather than the random stamping on that page. So I feel like this is a little bit better, and this is where I decided to end the video. As I was packing up, however, I noticed that there was this pom-pom trim in the Pocket Life kit, and the color was absolutely perfect for this page. So I decided to add a little bit down the right-hand side. So I'm just using a little bit of double-sided tape and trimming it down so it fits nicely, and then I can add my pom-pom trim along the edge. Now, I don't normally add a lot of stuff to the edges of my notebook, but this one is nearly finished. This page is quite near the back, so I'm not worried about it sticking out for any other pages. And I love the little texture that it gives it and just the pop of color on that right-hand side. You can see I'm just adding it down the side. I trimmed it off, and now my page is all done. So my challenge for you today is to try some repeat stamping. Try it any way you like, but this cheats way is pretty easy to create your own pattern paper to use in your notebook. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye!